It was supposed to be a quiet weekend. Clara and her boyfriend Jake had rented a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains, far from cell service and city noise. The plan was simple: hike, cook, maybe stargaze. The cabin was rustic, perched on a ridge with dense forest stretching in every direction. The nearest neighbor was miles away, and the only road in was a winding dirt path. Clara loved the isolation at first. It felt like they'd escaped the world. That first night, after a day of hiking, they sat by the fireplace, the crackling logs drowning out the wind rattling the windows. Jake was halfway through a ghost story, his voice low and theatrical, when the radio in the corner, a dusty old thing with a cracked dial, hissed to life. Static poured out, sharp and grating, followed by a faint voice. The words were garbled, swallowed by the static, but they were unmistakable. Clara froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. Jake laughed nervously, calling it a prank or a signal bleed from some distant station. He twisted the dial, but the radio only screeched louder, the voice repeating. "Trapped, please." Clara insisted they turn it off. Jake unplugged it, and the silence that followed felt heavier than before. She tried to shake it off, blaming her nerves on the wine and the dark, but sleep didn't come easily. She kept imagining that voice, desperate and close. The next morning, the radio was on again. Plugged in, dial glowing faintly, it hummed with static. Jake swore he hadn't touched it, and Clara believed him. His confusion mirrored her own. "In the woods, can't get out." Clara's stomach twisted. She suggested they leave, but Jake, ever practical, argued it was just a faulty wire or a local prankster. He wanted to stay, said they'd paid for the weekend and shouldn't let a creepy radio ruin it. Reluctantly, she agreed, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. That afternoon they hiked a trail looping around the ridge. The forest was dense, the air thick with pine and damp earth. Clara kept glancing behind her, half expecting to see someone or something following. Jake noticed her unease and tried to lighten the mood, but his jokes fell flat. Then they found it. A clearing, hidden off the trail, with a rusted metal hatch embedded in the ground. It looked old, maybe military, with faded stenciled numbers barely legible. A padlock held it shut, but the chain was loose, as if someone had been tampering with it. Jake was curious, tugging at the lock, but Clara begged him to leave it alone. The voice from the radio echoed in her mind, trapped in the woods. She pulled him away, her heart racing, and they hurried back to the cabin. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the trees, and every snap of a twig made her flinch. Back at the cabin, the radio was blaring again, though neither had touched it. The voice was louder now, almost frantic. "Radio, they're coming! Don't open it!" Jake yanked the plug from the wall, but the radio didn't stop. The static grew deafening, the voice looping, "Radio, don't open it, don't open it!" Clara screamed for Jake to smash it. He grabbed a poker from the fireplace and bashed the radio until it was a mess of wires and plastic. The silence that followed was suffocating. They decided to leave at first light. No arguments this time. Clara packed their bags while Jake checked the car, his flashlight bobbing in the dark. She was zipping her duffel when she heard it. A faint tapping, rhythmic and deliberate, coming from the ceiling. She froze, her breath shallow. The tapping moved, circling above her, then stopped directly over the living room. Dust sifted down from the wooden beams. The tires are slashed, all four. Before Clara could respond, the tapping started again, faster now, joined by a low hum that vibrated through the walls. It wasn't the radio, it was coming from outside, or maybe below, she couldn't tell. Jake grabbed the poker and Clara clutched a kitchen knife, her hands trembling. The hum grew louder, pulsing like a heartbeat, then a new sound. Footsteps, heavy and uneven, crunching on the gravel outside. But his voice shook. The footsteps stopped, and for a moment there was only the hum. Then the front door rattled as if something was testing the lock. Clara backed toward the bedroom, urging Jake to follow, but he stood his ground, poker raised. The door rattled again, harder, and the windows began to shake, the glass creaking under some unseen pressure. The hum was unbearable now, drilling into Clara's skull. She screamed Jake's name as the door burst open, not with a crash but slowly, deliberately, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. Jake swung the poker at the empty doorway, shouting for whatever it was to back off. The hum stopped abruptly and the silence was worse. Clara's ears rang as she stared into the dark, waiting for something to step through. Then, from the bedroom behind her she heard it, the same voice from the radio, soft and impossibly close. "Radio, you opened it." She spun around, knife raised, but the room was empty. Jake grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the door, yelling that they had to run, tires or no tires. They stumbled outside, the cold air biting their skin, and sprinted down the dirt path, flashlights bouncing wildly. The forest was alive with sounds, twigs snapping, leaves rustling, and that hum, faint but growing again, following them. They didn't stop until they reached the main road hours later, battered and breathless. A passing trucker picked them up, his eyes wide as they babbled about the cabin, the radio, the hatch. The police searched the property the next day but found nothing unusual. No hatch, no broken radio, no signs of slashed tires. The cabin was pristine, as if they'd never been there.
Breaking news.
Clara and Jake broke up soon after, unable to talk about what happened without fighting or crying. Clara moved to a new city, started a new life, but she never felt alone. At night, when the world was quiet, she'd hear it, a faint hum just beyond her hearing, waiting. She never went back to the mountains, but she kept the knife by her bed just in case.